Hello, Garland Nixon here, and there's these so-called mysterious drones flying over New Jersey and all over the place, and people are perplexed. And I don't really understand why. It doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to solve this mystery. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here. So you've heard about this drone thing, right? And people are droning on about mysterious drones over the United States and what could it possibly be, and all this discussion about it being a mystery. And I find it laughable that, like, people can't figure this one out, that there's some discussion of, oh, what could it be? Let's start by looking at some of the bull crap that we're hearing. I mean, to me, I don't know. I'm not like, to me, I'm like this. I'm not like, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes. Yes, I have a background in investigations, right? But I don't really think it takes an investigator if you just look at this and just use logic and common sense. The answer screams out what it is, right? Now, I saw somebody in the chat say it's a government opt to do something. I don't know, whatever. And my point is this: I don't know what it's to do. You're halfway there. But that idea that we can say why they're doing it, well, we don't know why they're doing it. But let's look at some of the things that we're starting to see, some indicators, things of that nature. Let's start here, right? Mystery New York drones are coming from an Iranian offshore mothership, Congressman suggests. I love that word, suggests. He didn't say I know it, did he? Or did he say that? Let's look at the story a little bit. New Jersey Congressman claimed Wednesday that mystery drones are from Iran. Well, we know they, boy, sure have a long way to fly, but he solves that one. Jeff Van Drew, a Republican, said the drones are very possibly could be from Iran. I love that. Don't you like those kind of things? Hey, where are they from? Well, they very possibly could be. Do you need any more caveats? Well, it's possible that maybe they could possibly be. Maybe, I'm not sure. Things suggest maybe, well, we hate Iran. How about Iran? Right? Why? Because we hate Iran. Everything that happens. Hey, what happened? Oh, man, I slipped and broke my arm. Why? Iran. I mean, like right now, it's Iran. It's got to be Iran. Why couldn't it be? Because we don't like it. The United States hates Iran. Iran is the current scapegoat. So there's drones flying over the United States, and doggone it, they're Iran. Here's what he says. I'm going to tell you the real deal. This is the real deal. Thanks. Now, at first, he starts off with a very possibly could be. Very, not a little bit possibly, but very possibly that they could be. That sounds like Kamala Harris talk, right? What next? And these drones have aspirations. They were raised in a small middle-class neighborhood, and that's what makes them American. They very possibly could be. Now, let me tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership that contains these drones, but you just said they very possibly could be. And now you're implying that you know beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty. I see a contradiction in these two statements. They very possibly could be from Iran. Now, let me tell you the truth about this thing. Iran launched a mothership that contains these drones. It's off the East Coast of the United States of America, and they've launched drones. So I'm supposed to believe that the Iranians, let's continue. These drones should be shot down. The military is on full alert. So the Pentagon later rebuked Van Drew's claims, claiming there's no evidence that they belong to a foreign adversary. So there's no evidence they belong to somebody foreign. That only leaves domestic, doesn't it? Foreign or domestic. Hey, what do you think about these drones? We got no evidence that they're from anybody foreign. Gee, I wonder if they're domestic. Doesn't leave a lot of options. Even if they were from another planet, wouldn't that be foreign? If they were from Mexico, that would be foreign. But Now we know that according to the government, they're not foreign. That kind of solves a part of the mystery as to where the drones come from, right? No evidence that there's a foreign adversary, right? But this guy says they're Iranian. I know they're Iranian. Doggone those Iranians. They sent a mothership. It must be cloaked because we can't see it. I mean, don't you think the US would kind of have an idea if like a big Iranian ship approached the East Coast? Don't you think the US, like radar, satellite, things like that, intelligence would pick it up? Hey, there's an Iranian gigantic ship, and there's things flying out of it, and they're flying towards the US, and they're flying all over the US. Iranian, they are. And so these Iranian drones that aren't Iranian that are flying over the US, let's see what else we got. Oh, wait a minute. There's more to that. How about this? Those darn Iranians. We know, you know how we know it's Iranians? This is how we know. Because Iran ordered an operative to assassinate Trump before the election, federal prosecutors say. Doggone it. They're flying drones all over the place from a mothership that doesn't exist. And doggone those Iranians, they wanted to take out Trump. They ordered an operative to assassinate Trump. You know why? Because they love the Biden administration and Kamala Harris. And they're like, hey, we don't want Trump to win. We want Kamala Harris to win. So we got to rub out Trump. Yes, sirree. The Iranians got a guy in Butler, Pennsylvania, to lay on a roof and shoot on Trump. And they got somehow, I guess they got to the Secret Service and told them, whatever you do, don't look out the window because there's a guy there. And like when all of the people were standing around in a crowd saying, hey, there's a guy on the roof and he's got a gun. It was the Iranians that made sure that the local police and the Secret Service and all, that they were like, hey, there's a guy on the roof and he's got a gun. And the Iranians were like, police, special services, all you guys, Secret Service, all of them, just ignore that. There's nothing to see. Don't look. Don't turn your head. That was the Iranians that handled that because they got this guy up there and they somehow infiltrated the Secret Service, but they weren't able to kill Trump. And then they took this guy whose wife was oddly working for a company that's a CIA cutout, and they got this guy to the fifth hole of Mar-a-Lago and gave him a weapon and had him waiting to plug Trump. Yeah, isn't that weird? A guy that was also had been in Ukraine supporting the Nazis in Ukraine. Those Iranians, keep an eye on them. They're slick, but that ain't all with the Iranians. The Iranians, man, they are busy dudes, right? Let's see, the Iranians. Oh, the Iran hackers stole Trump campaign files and sent them to Democrats. Iranian operatives stand accused of hacking the Trump campaign. Election interference, right? The FBI said that Iran is involved in election interference. So we know now that the Iran is trying to assassinate Trump. Certainly the CIA and the intelligence agencies are not trying to assassinate Trump. They're trying to stop Iran from doing it. We know that the Iranians interfered in our elections. They peed in our soup. They put sugar in the gas tanks of our lawnmowers and our weed leaf blowers, so we can't blow. We have nice lawns. You know, Iranians, they hate really nice, good-looking lawns, so they did things like that. Everything, man. Everything that goes bad in the United States and in your life right now, it's all Iran. I remember when it was all Bin Laden. Remember that? Bin Laden's going to get you. Really? Yeah, he's going to blow up your local Walmart, for God's sake. Remember that when it was Bin Laden and Al-Qaeda? And I guess, well, Putin is going to get you, but maybe that's wearing through. Maybe they're shifting away. You know what it is? I just realized something. Everything was Putin is going to get you. Everywhere you look, there was blue and yellow propaganda, the color of the Ukrainian flag. And I guess now they understand maybe they're going to try to phase out of Putin's going to get you. And now it's Iran. They're flying drones. They're interfering in the election. They're trying to assassinate Trump. Man, the Iranians are busy. I got to tell you this, especially with those drones. They're all over the creation. All right. So we know that. Iranians, boom. But the government says no foreign adversaries. And here's what's weird. Let me see this. Let's try to find another one. Those drones here's something of consequence that I think may help serve the mystery. Look at this one. Who is behind the mystery drones buzzing over U.S. air bases? Isn't that odd? Now, if the government were flying drones, mysterious drones at that, I wonder where those drones would take off from. Certainly not U.S. air bases. Nah. Where do drones generally take off from around the world when the U.S. uses drones? U.S. air bases. I think we're getting closer here. And what does this say? Again, let's take a look at this again. Maybe this will help get us to the culprit. Who's behind the mysterious drones buzzing over U.S. air bases? Hey, I got an idea. You know, F-16s were seen flying over U.S. air bases. Helicopters that had like these weird 4 letters that look like USAF. We're seen flying over U.S. air bases. Various aircraft have been seen flying over U.S. air bases. What a mystery. I wonder where those aircraft came from. So let me get this straight. I look over a U.S. air base. I see an F-16 fly by. I see an E-8 Prowler fly by. I see helicopters fly by. I see all of these aircraft fly by, and every one of them is, oh, look at that. It's a U.S. air base. There's trainer planes going off. People are learning how to fly. There's bombers flying. There's all kinds of aircraft. And I say, wow, I've seen 20, and I know people that do that stuff, right? They're interested in it, and they get near, maybe out on the Patuxent River, right? You got Patuxent River Naval Air Station right there. And, you know, I fish that area a lot. You get there and you see these planes taking off, doing touchdown, you know, they could boom, they land and take off. They're training people, all kinds of stuff, right? And there are people who bring cameras with high-powered lenses on them and take pictures of them, and they're into that kind of stuff, whatever, right? So you see, I don't know, 20 different kind of aircraft land and take off from a U.S. air base, and you assume that those 20 are all from the United States Air Force. If you saw one more, and instead of 20 different types of aircraft, you saw 21 different types of aircraft, why wouldn't you assume that the 21st was also U.S. Air Force? Why would you say, hey, there's all of these planes and helicopters and various kind of aircraft flying over air bases, U.S. air bases? The safe assumption is that they're U.S. Air Force. Oh, wait a minute. There's another type. I wonder what this one is. Gee, you think it's an alien? Hey, let's see what the U.S. government says, because I know they're surely alarmed. I mean, come on. If there's something flying over U.S. airbase and they're not sure what it is, and you know, we know that that's restricted airspace. Certainly, they'll shoot you down. You know, you can't able to fly over restricted airspace, which is U.S. airspace. You can't. I got a drone. Look at that right behind me. There's a little drone, right? I love flying my drone just for fun, taking pictures. It has the camera on it. Okay. Do you think I could go fly it over Fort Meade? Think I could go fly it over an air base? No, I'd go to jail. It's restricted airspace. They got the drone blockers that drop out of the air, and old Garland Nixon would go to jail because that is illegal. Because you're not allowed to fly them. It's not going to happen. But for some reason, let's take a look. Let's take a look. What a horrible mystery. I don't know who will never figure this one out, but let's give it a shot. White House says New Jersey drones are not from a foreign country. Foreign and domestic. That means that they are domestic. They figured that out in this great mystery. The White House says they're not foreign, so we know that they are domestic. It's been nearly a month since drones were first reported. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security said in a joint statement, there is no evidence the drones pose a threat to national security or public safety. So here's my question. They're flying over U.S. air bases, and they're flying normally over, they've been flying over naval bases, flying over U.S. military bases, but the FBI and DHS, they don't pose a threat to national security. So if something is flying over a U.S. air base and you don't know what it is, then certainly it poses a threat to national security. The only way it doesn't pose a threat to national security, there's only one way. If you know what it is. I mean, there's only two options, right? You got a U.S. air base, you got a U.S. military facility, and something flies over it. Either you know what it is and you're fine with it, or you don't know what it is. If you don't know what it is, it poses a threat. The only way it doesn't pose a threat, you have to know what it is. You have to have information and data on it. So we know that it's flying over U.S. air bases, U.S. military facilities, and we know the government says it's not a threat to national security, which means it's not a threat to those air bases. Those air bases know what it is. And wouldn't you have to assume they call them air bases because they deal with things that fly? Where did it leave? It didn't just appear out of the ether. It flew from somewhere. And for some reason, at some point, it ended up in a U.S. air base, perhaps to land, perhaps to take off. Perhaps that's where it came from, right? The FBI and DHA has said both agencies were working with authorities in New York and that they have reviewed images of the drones. They appear to be manned, we've looked at the images. They appear to be manned aircraft flying legally in the area, the agency said, right? They appear to be. So they're saying they're manned and they're flying legally in the area. Well, let's go to that. There have been no reported drone sightings in restricted airspace. Well, wait a minute. They've been seen flying over U.S. air bases. It's reported. That's not denied. Which is restricted airspace. You can't fly drones over U.S. air bases. So they lied, clearly. No reported drone sightings in restricted airspaces. They said that's a lie. But it says they appear to be manned aircraft flying legally in the area, the agency said. Think about that. They're flying legally. In order to drive legally on the road, say there was a mystery car and you said, I'm in Maryland, Maryland State Police, there's a car driving with no tags on it. And Maryland State Police says, that car is driving illegally on the state of, you called, hey, state police. Yeah. Garland Nixon here. I'm calling on your emergency line. Okay. There's a car driving down the road and it has no tags and it's all over the place. And they say, yeah. Don't worry about it, sir. That car's driving legally. Well, then you know what that car is all about, don't you? How would you know it was legal if you didn't know anything about the car? They're flying legally. Well, we know they lied and said that there are no drone sightings in restricted airspaces, but we can go to the top of this article, and this article says, well, not this article, but the other articles say that it's been flying over air bases. It's been flying over military facilities. So according to the government, it's flying over military facilities legally, which means that whoever it is either has permission or whatever to fly over. It's perfect for, it's not legal. I'll put it like this. It's not legal for me to fly a drone over a U.S. air base. So whoever's flying the drones over the U.S. air base, it's legal, which means they've got to have clearance from the U.S. air base. So they said they're flying legally. Nah, all good. Leave us alone. Nothing to see here. No evidence. So here's what we know the government says, that these drones don't pose a threat to national security and that they're flying legally over U.S. military facilities. Put those together. Put those things together. They don't pose a threat to national security. They're flying over military facilities, but according to the government, it's legal for them to do that, which means they are government drones. They're military drones. I mean, how hard is that to put together, right? Government says it's legal. They're flying over military bases. and they're no threat to U.S. Oh, let me add this. And what else did we read? The government says they're not from a foreign actor or foreign adversary. So we know they're domestic. We know they're flying over U.S. air bases. We know it's legal for them to fly over U.S. air bases. And they're no threat. I think we've solved the mystery, haven't we? Let's continue. To be clear, they have uncovered no such malicious activity or intent at this stage. While there is no known malicious activity occurring in New Jersey, the reporting sightings there do, however, highlight the insufficiency of current authorities, right? White House Communications Officer John Kirby echoed similar sentiments, adding that the drones residents have spotted are not U.S. military drones. Well, I think that's a lie. And they don't appear to be a foreign country or entity. So they're not U.S. military, according to them. But they're not from foreign, which means they're domestic. Now, it could be true. You know why? What if they're intelligence? What if they're run by the CIA? What if they're run by any of the intelligence operations, right? So you've got drones. Here's a possibility, FBI, that these are drones that will be used for domestic. I'm just going to give you a possibility that the FBI is working with the U.S. military to integrate their drone program, and they're practicing using them over the U.S., New Jersey, wherever, various places, right? So now the FBI is getting a drone program. I'm just, there's a possibility, not saying that's true, but all we know is that if we take, well, they lie all the time, but if they're telling the truth and they're not U.S. military, and they're telling the truth that they are domestic, they're not foreign, and they're telling the truth that there's no threat to the U.S., and they're telling the truth that they're legally flying in areas where only the government is allowed to legally fly, which is U.S. military facilities, then if they're not military, then they're intelligence, they're law enforcement. So here's a possibility, and maybe even a strong one. Intelligence or FBI is flying these drones. These drones could be gathering intelligence. They could be preparing for something. They could be practicing and getting ready to be able to, so the FBI will have a drone fleet to use all over the United States against us, be it for electronic countermeasures against the American people. They could be up there, doing electronic countermeasures. They could also be used for electronic surveillance, things of that nature. But it's clear they're government drones. It's clear. The government has made it clear. They've given us all the keys. They've said they can fly legally over U.S. bases. They're domestic. They're no threat. Oh, there ain't much left here. There ain't much left here. We keep going. Officials said the drones fly 6 to 7 hours, called their battery life extraordinary. Said the federal government's radar and electro-optical did not detect the drones. Normally, the camera to detect drones 1 to 2 miles or 10 miles away for larger airborne. So they know a lot about the drones, don't they? Hey, what do you know about these mystery drones? Well, they fly approximately 6 or 7 hours. They weigh 9.3 kilograms. They're really great. They're painted kind of gray, but we thought maybe gray or camouflage would be a good color for them. They got appeared that maybe possibly somebody put some of that absorbing radar paint on them. I'm just throwing that. Maybe that's a little bit better in gray than it is green. And they seem to evade radar pretty darn good, but we're working on that. We think they could evade radar a little bit better, but right. I mean, whoever is running them thinks probably is going to improve their radar absorption rate, but right now they're doing pretty well. 6 to 7 hours is their battery life. That's extraordinary. I mean, whoever had these drones, probably the first iteration was maybe 3 hours. So whoever is doing these drones have got them up to 6 or 7 hours. I think that's pretty good for whatever unknown entity just happens to be working on the drone. Come on. You think we're friggin' stupid? If it was ours, our governments, we think we know, said one official. For instance, we know just how long the battery life is, which just happens to be 6 or 7 hours. If it was ours, I mean, of course they're not, but if they were, say, allowed to fly over military facilities and they were no threat to us and we knew they were domestic and not foreign and we had a whole hell of a lot of information on mystery drones, don't you think we'd know? Yes, spokesperson, we think you would know, and we think you're so damn stupid that you gave us enough information to make it very clear to us that you know. Let us keep going. Witness accounts said the drones are large, measuring 6 feet in diameter, typically fly at night from dusk to 11 p.m., according to Asbury Park Press. It was first spotted on November 18. No known threat to public safety. Who's investigating? Oh my God. The FBI, the DHS, and the FAA, right? Let's see. A spokesman for U.S. Northern Command said that the command conducted a deliberate analysis of the events in consultation with other military organizations and interagency partners, but had not been asked to help investigate the drones. According to the command, it will continue to assess further information, is prepared to respond when asked, or should the situation escalate to threaten any installations. So it's flying over the installations right now, but it doesn't threaten the installations, but it's flying over them. What flies over a U.S. military air base that doesn't threaten a U.S. military air base? And they know it doesn't. A U.S. military aircraft. It tells where they've been spotted. Homeland Security have confirmed that an unmanned craft flew over Naval Weapons Station Earl, a Picatinny Arsenal, and the National Guard. They've more than a dozen drones reportedly followed a 47-foot Coast Guard boat, harassing the crew. Okay. So now they've followed a U.S. Coast Guard is technically military boat, but they're no threat. Harassing the crew. What does that even mean? How did they harass the crew? Did they come by and yell at them, "Hey, you got a fat head"? No. So a bunch of drones followed a 47-foot Coast Guard boat. For instance, I don't know, if you were going to be testing these drones, perhaps you would enlist the help of the U.S. Coast Guard, and you'd say, here's what we're going to do. We got an operation. We're going to put some kind of a thing on your boat and see if these drones correctly follow it. Okay, yes, sir, yes, sir. In other words, part of the testing used a 47-foot Coast Guard boat. A dozen drones followed a 47-foot Coast Guard drone, but they weren't now. But what we know is this, but the Coast Guard wasn't threatened by that. They said there's no threat. They weren't threatened by a bunch of unknown, mysterious drones following a U.S. military vessel. But they don't know who it is, and they're still investigating it. You have to be so stupid and naive to believe that I can't. If somebody believes that, I can't. I don't even know what to say to them. They're still like believing in the tooth fairy. Listen to this. The drones could be coming from an Iranian ship off the east coast of the United States of America. Well, but wait a minute. But it's not. But they're not a threat. These drones should be shot down, whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine. So some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine may just be flying drones like all over the place, following Coast Guard boats. A crazy hobbyist. Drones that have a battery life for 6 or 7 hours. That according to the government, they got a battery life of 6 to 7 hours. And they're about 6 feet in diameter, and they're all over creation. A dozen of them follow the Coast Guard. And this guy says, maybe it's a crazy hobbyist. You got to be crazy to even think that. They should be shot down. When asked about shooting the drones down, a Pentagon spokesperson said, any action taken against the drones is a decision state and local authorities have to make. Oh, yeah, sure. That's brilliant. If a drone or any listen to what she says. If a drone or any activity, this is a press secretary for the Pentagon. Listen to what she says. If a drone or any activity is a threat to military installations, they always have the right for self-defense. But which is true, but we already know that the White House says these drones are not a threat to national security. So I don't think it's been difficult. I do think that we have figured this mystery out. They're practicing with these drones. I personally think it's some kind of a new program, some kind of a new drones that they're putting into effect for whatever evil reasons. And now here's the other thing. They said they appeared to be manned vehicles. Then why the hell are you calling them drones? The Pentagon in the US continues to refer to them as drones, but a Pentagon or White House spokesman, whoever it is, also said they appear to be, let me see this, Command F. Let me see, Command F. Well, it was it was one I was looking at earlier that I read to you, but basically where they said they appear to be manned aircraft about 6 feet in diameter. So here's my question. There's again a contradiction, Pentagon. The Pentagon says these drones, and these drones are not a threat, and these drones are this, and these drones are that, right? And then they say they appear to be manned aircraft about 6 feet. Well, the definition of a drone means that there's not a man in it. So which one is it? Are they drones or are they manned aircraft? Well, I think most people are kind of assuming that they're not drones. I don't know if they're 6 feet in diameter. That's kind of small for a manned aircraft, simply because you got whatever it is has to lift up and it has to maintain the weight and carry the weight of a person. And for a drone to do that, that's only 6 feet in diameter, to put some 200-pound guy in there and fly it around, A, he'd be pretty cramped, and B, I don't think the battery would last for 6 or 7 hours. And you need propellers so big that they'd be bigger than 6 or 7 feet in diameter. So that makes no sense. But anybody who thinks that this is aliens or some kind of a weird space technology, no, let me put it to you like this. Anybody who thinks that the government doesn't know exactly what they are is naive, number one. Anyone who thinks that these drones are flying over U.S. air bases, but they didn't depart from U.S. air bases and then land when they returned from their mission to U.S. air bases is also exceptionally naive. None of these things are logical. They don't make sense. Now, where this goes, I don't know. Now, are there, and someone says, there are also many sightings of spheres that don't look like these drones. Well, that's something different. But I'm telling you right now, if the spheres were reported to be flying over U.S. air bases and the United States said they're not foreign, they're not foreign, they provide they are no threat, and they're not flying illegally. And if they were flying over U.S. air bases, then I would say they're U.S. aircrafts. I don't know anything about these spheres, and I can't comment on them, but I can say these are damn U.S. drones. The question is, and here's the question, truthfully, why are they lying? That's the question. Why are they lying? Not are they lying, but why are they lying? For this reason. Look, if the U.S. had some drone program and they just said, look, we're working on a drone program and there may be some drone sightings, chill out. Okay. The fact that they're lying about it makes me believe that it is something like maybe an FBI or CIA or some kind of intelligence drone program that is being born, and that there are nefarious means and that they don't really want us to know about it. And they're lying, I mean, right in front of our faces in the most preposterous and, quite frankly, insulting way. And so now, and then I got to go online and I got to see people pretending like they don't have no clue where these, like they can't figure out that these are government drones. I find that kind of insulting to my intelligence, that I can read all the things that I've read and that people will say, but I don't know where these drones, oh God, you think they could possibly be aliens? They flew all over U.S. Air Base and the U.S. Air Force isn't really concerned about it. So they're probably aliens, you think? Let's use a little logic here, people. Let's use a little reason. They're US drones. They're government drones. And they're not going to tell us why. And that is we don't know why. Don't pretend like you know why. Don't pretend like you don't know why you don't. You don't need to know why. You don't have to know why at this particular point. Maybe at some point we'll figure out. All you need to know is it's glaringly, blatantly obvious that these are U.S. government drones and they're flying out of U.S. government bases. Of course, they're seen around U.S. government bases because they're departing from U.S. government bases and they're returning to U.S. government bases. The government all but told you that. They all but told you that. So let's stop referring to these drones as mysterious drones, and let's start referring to them as what they are. Some kind of government drone program. Instead of insulting ourselves, Americans should be saying this. Hey, there's some kind of U.S. government drone program. We want to know more about it. Why are you lying to us about this government drone program? We want to know why. Don't play the game with them. Don't play this pretense that you can't figure out that it's government drones. Don't even play that anymore. We should be saying to them, hey, come on, man, like you're insulting us. You know what time it is. We know what time it is. Okay, fair enough. Let's not play they're an Iranian mothership and we don't know where they are. That kind of insults us. Let's play a different game and just be honest with us. Are you going to tell us what's up with the drones and why they're flying all over hell? Are you going to continue to pretend that you don't know what they are, that it's a mystery? We figured it out and it wasn't hard. That's it. And so we don't want to read that there was Iranian mothership. We don't want to hear Trump say we should shoot the drones down. We ain't shooting the drones down. We're paying for the drones. We're probably paying billions and billions of dollars for this drone program. So somebody is getting rich off this drone program. So let's stop pretending like it ain't what it is and say to the government, come on, guys, let's just be honest. Or you can come clean and say, look, yes, it's a government drone program. No, we're not going to tell you about it. I'm fine with that. At least we can say, well, it's classified, probably something we wouldn't like anyway, but at least they were straight with us to tell us that they ain't going to tell us. That's okay. But it's not okay to keep playing around pretending that the government would allow drones to fly over their bases, that they didn't know what they were, and then tell us that, nah, everything's fine. We're not worried about these drones that are flying over. Come on, you can't be that stupid. Nobody can. Possibly there are some people that are. I don't know, but I'm not, and you're not. Thanks a lot, everybody. A couple of things. You can become a member of the channel now, so please click on that membership and become a member. It's only a couple bucks a month. Also, I have a Substack. I think it's $4.99 a month. So if you can afford to become a member of my Substack, that would be greatly appreciated. Of course, all the other things, Patreon, buy me a coffee if you can afford to. Certainly appreciate anybody that can support the channel. If not, or even if you do, either way, please share this on all your social media platforms. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Let me look. Are there any super chats? No super chats. Let me look at Rockfin. No donations there. Let me check Rumble, because if there are any Rumble rants, I certainly want to respond to them. Let's see. Are there any Rumble rants? I see no Rumble rants. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to talk about that. Somebody said Clinton on notice after Durham report. Yeah, well, look, they're talking about Bill Clinton's talking about literally saying there should be listen to this, a sweeping pardon for Hillary going back to 1992. And it's all coming. The Clintons, the Blinkens, everybody's going to be pardoned. They got no choice. They got to, because they're a bunch of criminals. But Trump is the bad guy. Don't forget, Trump is the crime. He's been convicted. He's had sex with a person who was a porn star. We can't have that, can we? Joe Biden has returned. Remember this? He's returned decency and normalcy to the White House. And in returning decency and normalcy, he's going to have to pardon the Clintons going back to 92. I see that coming. Have a great day. Share this on all your social media platforms. We're out.